I think the best thing that we can do now is work on the time of our events. So we have at this at my institution a very specific way that we display times. If it's like a from this time to this time and it's PM to PM or AM to AM, we don't list that first AM or that first PM. We just list the last one. If the start or end time is at like 12 PM, we say noon. We don't actually write out 12 PM. They're also very specific about how to format PM versus like a PM and AM. It's like a lot of depending on how structured your style guide is, like you can work with like AM, PM, stuff like that. But it's lowercase a period, lowercase m period. So again, because we're having to pull all of these individual formatting pieces, I can't really do this in a format mask. Because also if it's like at the hour, like it's 2 p.m., we don't list the colon and the 00. It's just 2 a.m. to, I should have chosen a number other than 2. So it's 3 to 4 a.m. Or whatever the time is. So because it is such a very strict series of requirements we have for our time, we can't just use a format mask. So it's a very in-depth build actually to do this time formatting. So we're gonna do this here. Let me just make sure I'm gonna write this correctly. Okay, so we're gonna build a noon then time. And again, because this is a dictionary, I'm going to try to keep these pretty computer friendly. I'm not going to add spaces. I'm not going to name them anything that might pull a different data element in Slate, but still be pretty descriptive. So I'm going to do a concatenate here, which again is just going to kind of list each of these data exports in my email. And you can do things like, oh, I only want like 2 data records pulled. I can add in like a space or a bar or whatever I want with this export separator. And then if there is like 2 line items, what kind of separator do I want for those different line items? So we do have a lot of fun flexibility with concatenate. We're not really going to do anything with that here though. So we need to do our start time. So we're just going to do time start. And we're going to do a formula here. So this first layer of formula is how we're going to establish noon or like midnight. We're not running any events at midnight, so I don't even bother with that in the formula. But we want to make sure that if it's 12 p.m., we're just going to say the word noon instead of listing 12 p.m. And you could kind of get away with doing this a little bit differently. This is, I think, just the cleanest way I can do it and not pull my hair out. So I do have to build my time twice. Once with that kind of adaptive PM, but it's kind of an issue. If it's 12 p.m. to 1 p.m., then my typical formula is going to strip out the PM. So it gets a little weird if I just try to use just my adaptive TT. So I am going to build this basically twice, but and I'm being a little more flippant with how I'm labeling this deep into my chain of subqueries. And we're just going to change this to another concatenate. And we're going to start off with our, let's call that hour actually. I think we're going to try to streamline the names a little bit. And we're in another formula. And what we're going to do in this one is we're going to, you can't really do like a single hour again that strips off that leading running 0. So we kind of have to, again, just because that is an individual data element, we're going to have to manually build that in a formula. And please, someone correct me if I'm wrong. And I'm like, oh, David, why would you do it this way? You could obviously just do it this way. Because any opportunity to streamline this would be great. And now just remember, we are trying to pull the date and time of the individual events that we're listing. Don't stumble and choose this umbrella event yet. That's going to be for the URL later. So we're going to get our start time for the event. This is interesting. I don't feel like I don't see a time zone when I'm working with times in the main Slate. I wonder if this is a new thing. Huh, that's fun. Something to test out later when I'm not on live. So we're just going to call this time age. This is going to help because we're going to have to do the start time and the end time. So our formula is to just be a little bit more evergreen across the start and end times. And then I also have the habit of just listing my format mask. Oh, this is going to be 2 H's. Just so I know if I'm like looking at an old export, I'm like, how did I build this? I'm not just assuming that I did this raw export. I'm like, oh, okay, I did a format mask on that. So we have our hours there. So case when, and a case when is just kind of, if you use Excel, it's like an if statement. You're just testing the logic of some kind of statement. And if it's true, give me a value. If it's not true, give me a different value. You could always do like an else statement as well if nothing there. So I just want the first left digit in that hour. If that equals a 0, then give me the right of it. And I just want that one right number. So if this is like 6 a.m., 6 p.m., anything like that, then I'm just going to pull that 6. I'm not going to pull that running 0 there. And again, I just haven't had a lot of luck with pulling out the individual format mask. If you're doing a broader format mask, it works. But because of all of our requirements later on, I haven't gotten it to work when it's just displaying the hour like this. So if it's something else like 10, 11, 12, then just give me the full formatted time. And we're just going to end that. So we have our very specific hour formatting. And then let's go ahead and do our minute. So I usually do this a little bit differently because when I started out doing comms for this institution, we typically had events at the top of the hour or at 30. And then, so it was just a simpler existence export. So if it was like, if it's 30, cool, show 30. If it's not, then we're just going to leave this blank. But we are getting some more events that are on the 15 minutes, especially for like admitted student day and stuff like that. It could be at the 15. So I did do, and I just bumped my microphone. I did do a slightly different formula for this. So we're just going to do another formula here. And we want our start time. Again, make sure you get the right one. And we're just going to call that minute. And so again, we're just doing a case when and actually, you know what? I can probably, yeah, we'll add the colon here. It'll be a little bit easier. Let's do a concatenate with that, just in case this does something weird. I haven't actually experimented with. I haven't tested that yet. So when that equals 0, then so yeah, we don't list the 0 when it's on the hour. Else, I'm actually just going to concatenate this. If I can spell concatenate. See me trying to be like caps to like do functions. I just add that little formatting there. So I have my minutes when it's appropriate to display them. And now we'll do our time. So I'm just going to grab our start time again. Time. And we're going to do a formula for this one as well. And we also need our actual end time too. Because we're going to need to pull out that first. And we can just call this start. So case when that's start. Oh, I guess we're not, yeah, this is more so to do the formatting of that because we haven't done the adaptive one yet. So that equals AM. Then a period M. Else, we're just going to call this PM. I probably shouldn't be narrating this a lot more for people who are listening to this on the podcast and not watching the video, but I'm like, oh man, there's just no way I could actually talk through this in a way that is meaningful if someone is just listening to this realistically. So I apologize for the folks who are listening to this. Please go watch the video. It's available on YouTube, Spotify, Substack. Yeah, that's is definitely going to be a watch along. So that should get me my start time. And then we're just gonna, yeah, I'm gonna do end time. And we're just going to pull these pieces here. And we're just gonna call this time HH. And I'm just going to delete that old start one. And then my formula still works because it's the same name. And then I'm going to do my end time again. And we're going to rename that. And again, delete the start date and time. And then for the TT, now I already kind of just did the naming. So we're just going to call this end. Okay. So we now have our start time, our end time, and oh wait. Oh yeah, it's fine. I can have these both here. And we're going to let's build the adaptive version of this as well. So we need this adaptive time. And now this is where we need to pull in the fact that if it's the same, if the start and end times are both AMs, drop the first AM. If they're both PMs, drop the first PM. But if it crosses, then we will have AM and PM. So we do need a bit different of a formula here though. So we're just going to start with another case when. So if that start time equals the end time, and this is just the TT, so like the AMs, then we're not going to list the TT. When the start equals AM, then we're just going to list our AM, PM. And then if it's not AM or it's not matching, then it's obviously PM. And then we can just end our case statement there. I somehow managed to type else twice. That's a new one for me. I've done a lot of silly things in Slate while building formulas. That's definitely a new one. So we have our adaptive time here. So we do need to write a formula now. So in case when, so when my actual start time is 12 p.m. Oh, it's so late. I need to go to bed. Then we're just going to give us the word noon. Else, we're going to do our adaptive time, which again pulls out the AM PM as needed. And then we're just going to end that. So that's our noon, then start time. And then we can just duplicate that. And then we can just delete these start times here. So if the end time is 12 p.m. then noon, else we're just going to give me because we're always going to include the AM or PM at the end of at the final date. So we don't need that adaptive piece. And we're just going to call that noontime end. And if we want just to improve performance a little bit, we can go delete that end time from the start time export. I should probably save this because I feel like too often I will just like accidentally hit escape or something and I lose my beautiful subquery that I spent 45 minutes building, because that's just how things go sometimes. So we have our time now for our dynamically adaptively generated list of events. And we can just add date. So we're just going to add not the umbrella. We're going to do this for the main event. And again, we're just going to call this something that's pretty simple. If you want to add some formatting, maybe we want to do like the day of the week. Maybe we want to also do month, day, year. I don't know, however you want to do it. We'll just have something generated there. And again, it doesn't matter what order you're doing these in, because you're just going to be pulling these exports as references in our for loop. And maybe if we want to add our title here of our event, again, we're going to rename that to something short, simple, no spaces, because you have to do dashes if you do spaces. And then here we can just save that again. Click back into this. Now we want to